Welcome back to Common Health, the podcast where we shine a light on the people who make up the fabric of our Virginia communities. People whose stories remind us what resilience, courage, and compassion look like in real life. I'm your host, Tracy Douglas, and today's episode is especially meaningful to me because our guest is someone who has shaped the very foundation of who I am. My mom, Susan Douglas. My mother's story starts far from Virginia in a small Minnesota town called Glencoe. But the choices she made as a young woman, choices rooted in justice, service, and a belief in the dignity of every human being, have everything to do with communities that are served here in Virginia today. In the mid-60s, she left the comfort and familiarity of her hometown to go to Alabama during a time of enormous racial tension, determined to help Black residents register to vote. That decision would change her life. It's where she met my father, a man from Montgomery doing the same courageous work. Her journey is a story about risk, conviction, and following a moral compass, even when it points you to the hardest places. And listeners, you all know this podcast was born out of the community health centers here in Virginia. And as I think about the work that the Virginia health centers do every day, caring for people who are too often overlooked or underserved, I see the same spirit. So today isn't just a family story. It is a story about what calls us to serve and how the past shapes the work we do now. I'm honored to share this conversation with you listeners and to share my mom with you today. So Mom, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for agreeing to do this. I didn't think I had to do too much to get you here. But I do want to start from the beginning, Mom.
Okay.
Back in the place and time that shaped you long before Alabama or Washington, D.C. So let's take our listeners back to Glencoe.
Sure.
And I can remember going to Glencoe during the summertime. You and Dad would send me and my brother Chris to Glencoe, hang out with our grandparents and our family out there. So what was it like for you growing up in Glencoe?
When I look back on it now, it was idyllic.
Mm.
It was, doors were open, kids played outside, went from one house to another. Parents didn't know where you were. Just when the whistle rang at noon, you came home for lunch. And same thing at dinner time. We had a town whistle. Went off at lunch and dinner time. That's when you had to be home. And you had to be home at night when it was dark outside. My parents never worried about where I was, what I was doing, because it was a small town.
Right.
I remember being able to go into a store with just a note that if my mother needed sanitary pads, I could go into the drugstore with a note and hand it to them. They'd hand it to me, and they'd bill my parents.
Really?
It was just not a big deal.
Mm.
I know my parents didn't smoke. But in our town, the kids would go in and get cigarettes for their parents, and nobody said anything. There weren't any laws about that.
Right.
So it was really an idyllic life. Everyone knew everyone else.
Mm. What kind of values did Grandma and Grandpa instill in you and Aunt Sherry, your sister?
Again, I go back to good, solid, middle-class values. We were an all-white town.
Mm.
It was, everyone went to church on Sunday. I don't know anybody who didn't go to church.
Wow.
Whether it was Lutheran or Methodist or Catholic, everybody went to church.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of lived those values. You told the truth when you were asked. Didn't lie to your parents. You certainly didn't lie to your teachers, because that you were really going to get in trouble. If you did something wrong, by the time you got home, your parents already knew about it because somebody had called to let them know that you did something you weren't supposed to that day. So those are the kind of values that we were taught. To respect the American flag. My dad was a vet. So the respect for the flag and the country and whoever the president was, that was just normal. It was part of life. You respected your elders. You didn't talk back. It was just, at the time, it was a normal life.
Do you remember when you first became aware of racial inequality or injustice living in Glencoe?
Not living in Glencoe, but I remember it really got to be on my consciousness when I was in college.
Really?
Living in Glencoe, we had no minorities. There were no African Americans, no Hispanics. It was strictly a white community. Yes, people still spoke German.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, it was a German town. So if you went we had people come in because my dad was an electrician, and people would come in and speak German because that was the only language that they spoke.
Did Grandpa understand that?
Grandpa did. He understood and he spoke. Grandma didn't speak it as much, but she did understand it. But I do know that whenever we had a family get together and they were talking about something we weren't supposed to know, it was always in German.
German. Wow.
Yeah.
So then when you got to college is when you started to become aware.
Yes, because that was I started college in 62 and left in 65. So that was the time of the big civil rights when more attention was being drawn to it with things that were happening down south with Dr. Martin Luther King. And we would talk about it.
Really?
I went to a Christian college, but it was a liberal Christian college. It was a Lutheran college, and it was very liberal. So we talked about it. We talked about it in our religion classes, in our history classes, things that were happening. And of course, then we talked about it when we were at lunch or getting together or sitting in our dorm rooms.
Right, right. So now somewhere along the way in your journey, though, Mom, something sparked a desire in you to step far outside of your world in Glencoe. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
From going from this small rural town in Glencoe, right, to the deep South during the civil rights movement, right? So what was happening in your life around the time you decided to go to Alabama?
It was my junior year in college. And what decided it was we had an exchange program with Tuskegee Institute. Our college had an exchange program.
This, yeah.
And actually, that was the first time I had seen an African American when I went to college.
Really?
Other than seeing like Sammy Davis Jr.
Right, on TV.
An entertainer. Yeah. Or had even spoken to one. So the dean from the school, Tuskegee, came up to talk to us. And it was about a voter registration program. It was posted on campus and talked about in our classes, how they were doing voter registration in the South, and it was a government-sponsored program.
Really?
It was they got government funding for it, but in order to get the government funding, they had to integrate the program. And the fastest way to do this was came to a college campus and to try to get some white students to go down to help with voter registration. And of course, our school promoted it because it was a good educational opportunity for us. And they made the right assurances that we would all be safe and protected. So when they came to talk to us, I mean, they had a huge crowd that came in, and it was a big auditorium. No, it was held in the church. on campus, and there was a big crowd. There was actually an overflow crowd of students who came to see what the program was all about. Because we're young,
Right.
and you tend to be very passionate about things. when you're
Right.
young.
Right.
And you see the injustice. You don't see anything else, but you see the injustice. And you want to do something about it. And for most of us, this was the only opportunity to do anything. What were we going to do? We were in school. So you have 3 months. They were offering you 3 months. You would pay your own transportation, but you would be housed in the dormitories and fed. And at the end of the summer, you would get $1,500.
Get out of here.
So that was a lot of money back in the
Right.
60s.
Right.
So-
right.
That meant I didn't have to work at Green Giant that summer.
Oh, really?
Yes, that I could go down and I would make actually more money than I would make at Green
Green
Giant.
Giant.
Yep. And get out of Minnesota. I'd never been out of Minnesota. Go with people that I knew in something that I believed about. You know, I believed in voter registration, that everybody had a right to vote. I didn't care about anything else, but everybody had a right to vote. So that was important to me. And plus, it was going to be fun.
So, was it a group of you that did it?
There was a group, yeah. You had to go home and talk to your parents, and they had a phone number, someone that they could call to find out about the program if they had any questions about it. But my mom was extremely supportive,
Really?
and it was mainly because it was a school program and it was advanced by the school.
So, once you made the decision, I'm going to do this, did you fully understand what the risks were going to be going down there?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Had no idea none of us had any idea what we were walking into.
And did you and Grandma and Grandpa talk about that risk? Did they?
No.
Okay.
Never talked about the
Wow.
risk. And this was, we wrote. I mean, we didn't have cell phones.
Cell phones, right?
You had to write
Yep.
because none of us had any money that we could spend on phone calls.
Yeah. So you made this enormous decision, Mom, to go to Alabama, and suddenly you're there in the middle, right, of history unfolding. And I'd love for our listeners to hear what that first experience was like for you. First time out of Minnesota, this white woman down here in Alabama, doing this program. What struck you most when you first arrived in Alabama?
We came by train and we got off in Montgomery. And to go through the train station and see all of the African Americans, because that just didn't happen. You might see an occasional one in Minneapolis, but there just weren't that many in Minnesota. One was cold.
Right.
So to see all of the African Americans. And the other thing was the heat. It was really hot and humid.
So what do you remember about that very first day when you started registering folks to vote? And where were you when this happened? Was it on campus? Was it off campus?
It was registering. The first thing we did was a bus picked us up after we left the train and took us to the campus, Tuskegee, which is about 30 miles away from Montgomery.
Okay.
And so the first thing was getting on campus, getting your dorm rooms, your roommates, things like that. And that's kind of a frightening thing when you know no one except some of the other students that you came down with. And we were all ages, from freshmen all the way to seniors.
And you're all white
We're
on
all
this
white.
black campus.
All white, this black campus.
Wow.
And we got in late afternoon, went to the dormitories, did our unpacking, met our roommates, and then we had to go to dinner that evening. And actually, this is where I first where your dad first saw me, because
Daddy was on at Tuskegee?
he was at Tuskegee.
Okay.
Yeah. So his fraternity boys were lined up by the lunch room where we were going to eat.
Was Daddy with them?
Oh, yeah. And they were lined up and they were checking out the new girls coming in. Now, how many of them have ever dated a white person? Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm.
Did they know? I wonder if they knew you were coming.
They did. They knew that we were coming. Yeah. Because they were there as part of the program, too. The ones who
Really?
had signed up because school was over for them.
Mhm.
The semester was over. So the ones there had signed up for the program also.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So they were checking you
They
all
were
out.
checking, yeah. And I remember, and I was going with some of my roommate and then a couple of others who were on our hall,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of girls from St. Olaf too. And it was,
St. Olaf was the college you
College.
went to.
Yeah.
Okay.
so it was kind of a strange feeling if you're just walking down and having
Right.
all of these guys look at you, and you know they're talking about you. And I'm thinking, is my hair still curly? Because it's so humid. And that I remember. I remember thinking if my hair had fallen.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, God.
You know, these are important things when
I
you're
get it.
when
I
you're a
get it.
teenager,
Yes, I
you know.
remember.
Yeah.
So talk about that first day of voter registration.
Okay. So Tuskegee made it very clear. There must have been some agreement with the state, because this wasn't a safe place. Alabama was not a safe place to do voter registration.
Mhm.
But when we went out in the cars, all the cars were marked
Really?
on both sides. They had these stickers on them
Mm-hmm.
that identified this as this program. So my personal feeling was that the police had been notified and
Mhm.
people had been notified, because we were pretty much left alone.
Were you?
We didn't have any, at that time, we didn't have any encounters with the police.
Okay.
When you were in that marked car doing this voter registration,
Mm-hmm.
I think the first time, I only did voter registration for about a week before I did another job. But the first time we went out, I was just appalled by the poverty,
Wow.
by how these people lived. It was eye-opening for me.
Really?
I had never experienced or seen that kind of poverty before.
Really?
Yes,
Mm.
it was kind of mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it kind of took me back.
So you didn't get any kind of training for this, or
No, it was
and they
just
didn't
kind of,
prepare you, or for what you were going to experience, or
the
anything?
training we got was, it was actually the first morning we went out.
Mm-hmm.
We had about a half a day of training. And a lot of that was, reminders to be careful, just to be aware of your surroundings, to not demonstrate affection, just,
Yeah.
you know how kids kind of interact with one another, particularly when you're doing a job or you
Right.
get to know each other. You just, you're joking.
Yep.
And to kind of maintain a sense of dignity or something, because this was a serious effort that we were undertaking.
Right. Right.
So, and then we were given the papers that we had to sign people
To
up.
sign people
Yeah,
up.
got our instructions as to what to do.
So they took you into this neighborhood.
It wasn't a neighborhood.
It wasn't a neighborhood.
It was the back roads. It was-
Really?
yeah. It was. They weren't neighborhoods. We were out in the rural areas, because
Mm.
that's where most of the people who lived in, like, Montgomery,
Yeah.
they were educated, or they knew what to do to vote,
Mm-hmm.
where to go, how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
because they were in that society. But in the rural areas, they didn't have all that information.
Right.
Remember, these people didn't have phones. A lot of them didn't have electricity.
Wow. And these are all Black folks.
These are we were
Wow.
registering African Americans to vote. Yeah.
So What was it like? Do you remember what it was like when you went up to a Black person to have that conversation and that you were there to get them to register to vote?
Sure. The first time you're nervous because you just don't know you got this kind of speech in your head.
Right.
And you think this is what you're going to say. Well, a lot of these people didn't have good language skills.
Mm-hmm.
Their comprehension was not that good because many of them hadn't gone to school or stopped school when they were 5th, 6th, 8th grade. That was it. So there were very simple conversations. First of all of our cars had Tuskegee Institute on it. And African Americans know Tuskegee. They knew Tuskegee. So they knew you were there, something to do with school, which made it easier. Mm-hmm. A lot of times the Tuskegee students who were with us would take the lead and talk to them. And that seemed to make it easier because we were white.
Right.
Once they were told what we were doing, then they would be a little more.
They would
open.
Warm up to you.
Yeah. Never completely. And you could always feel that. It was just always a bit of, distance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Between us at the time.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you feel when you were interacting with these residents? Did you feel like you really needed to find a way to get them to want to register to vote? Did you have like a conviction about, okay, I've got to get these people to register?
It's more that we have to get them educated so that they know that in order to improve their lives, they have to vote.
Okay.
You can't continue to have people like, at the time it was Governor George Wallace. You can't continue to elect people like that if you want to have a change in your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was what most of the students from St. Olaf felt. That it's so important that you vote. Registering is just part of it.
Right.
You have to actually do the voting to effect a change.
And somewhere in the midst of this intense, courageous work, okay, you've seen Dad. You remember
Right.
seeing him when you in the okay, and you met someone who would change literally the entire trajectory of your life, my father.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So I remember, you're saying you see him in the cafeteria with his fraternity brothers, and they're checking you all out. So how did you two end up meeting then?
Oh, that was a party.
Oh, jeez. Okay, Mother, keep it clean, please.
That was a party.
Keep it clean.
Well, after you work all day, we're young people.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? We're going to party.
Uh-huh.
Find a place to party. There would be somebody's apartment.
Right.
There was almost always some kind of party going on.
Right.
An apartment.
It is college.
Yeah, it is college.
Yeah.
We had what was known as the beach.
The beach?
We went to the beach a lot. Yes. It was a small creek.
I was going to say, Tuskegee Institute. It was a creek.
It was a little creek, yes.
Okay.
That had this little, it was about as big as this table.
Right.
A little sand beach.
Uh-huh.
And you'd go down and you'd bring your beer. Or I think we were drinking Catawba Pink at the time.
What?
Yeah. It was college. We were all broke. We had a lot of money.
Okay.
And you'd build a fire on the beach. Somebody would bring a boombox.
Uh-huh.
You'd listen to music. You'd dance.
Really?
Around the fire. Drink. Yeah.
And it would be
a mix of
mix of folks.
Yeah.
Black and white.
Black and white. Absolutely.
Really?
You work together, so you play together.
Right. Okay.
And we're all students. You're kind of interested in each other,
Right.
finding out a little more about them,
Right.
what their lives were like on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of normal.
So did you
stuff.
make friends? Black friends? You did?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay. And then so you met Daddy at one of these parties.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God. Did he run a line on you, Mom?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I should have known. That's my father. And he was a very handsome man. So do you remember what he said? What drew you to him?
Mm-mm. He was just good looking. He was good looking. He was smart.
Yeah, my dad was smart.
Very smart. He was funny. He could be funny.
Yeah.
We had some good conversations because he was so smart.
Really?
Yeah, we did have some conversations.
Keep this clean, Mother. Now you might be going down a road I don't want to go down as your child. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So then how did your relationship grow in that environment? Because as I look back at my father growing up, he was always it didn't really start to come out until I got older, but he was he was very strong in his convictions.
Very.
Okay.
Yes.
And especially when it came to equity and rights.
Yes.
So how did your relationship grow in that environment?
I really don't know how to answer that question. That's kind of an interesting question, Tracy. I think we both, part of it is because we both believe the same things.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to things like equality, voting,
Mm-hmm.
the rights that people should have, that everybody should be treated the same.
Right.
That you shouldn't be, it should be as everybody just has one skin color.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody should be different because of the color of their skin. And your dad and I both felt that very strongly.
Mm. So did you guys go on a date? Did you all date?
Yes, we did. We went on dates.
Okay.
I will. Yes, we did go on dates. We went to a lot of parties. A lot of dating took place at the parties. But then, yeah, we went to dates. We'd go out to Dairy Queen.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what was it like going to a Dairy Queen in Alabama, a white woman and a black man?
Now, I will tell you, that was the first time that I was afraid.
Really?
It wasn't until afterwards. Okay, so we're college students. We've been going to parties and having conversations and that kind of stuff for a while. So one night he borrowed a car, one of his friends' car. There were only so many cars on campus.
Right.
So you had to borrow a car. You planned your dates according to what night you had a car. So, and the car that he had borrowed was a convertible. So we're going to go to the Dairy Queen.
Mm.
Okay. And we're going to the Dairy Queen and we're talking, got the music on, listening to the music and just laughing, having a good time. And I'm sitting up next to him. It's a bench seat.
Yeah.
I'm right next to, what do you do when you go out?
Right.
You're dating, you sit next to him, right?
Right.
All of a sudden, we're waiting to make a left turn into the Dairy Queen. And there's a car behind us, and it's right on our bumper.
Mm-hmm.
We pull into the Dairy Queen, and this car pulls in right behind us. And then another car comes around and parks in front of us.
Mm.
And that was the first time that I was scared.
Really?
Because they were cars with white men in them.
And they did that purposely because
did it.
they saw you two
Yeah.
as an interracial
And
couple.
we weren't careful. I mean,
right.
I'm sitting next to him and we're laughing and having a good time and
Yeah.
probably a little loud with it.
Yeah.
And the only thing that saved us was that football practice had gotten out, or they had had a football game, and a group of Tuskegee football students saw what was happening. They stopped their car in the middle of the road and got out and walked us and make sure that we got out of there.
Really?
And said, "You guys are stupid."
Really?
I
Right.
remember that one guy say, "You guys are stupid."
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we were.
Well, but you didn't think. The only thing you're focusing on is
Your relationship.
your
your
relationship,
date.
right? You're dating and,
Yeah.
why should you, right?
Right. I had never had that experience.
Mm.
I came from a white area, And your dad hadn't either, because at that time, hadn't dated
A
anyone.
white person, right?
Right.
Right.
So we're used to our own cultures, and this is just something you do.
Mm-hmm.
Never kind of put two and two together. And some things we were a lot naive.
Really?
Yeah.
So you, this relationship, right, didn't just challenge the social norms, but it also bumped up against a lot of the legal barriers that existed during that time. Because during that time, this just wasn't accepted. And I really like to hear how both sides of the families reacted to this, because I tell people I have my white side and I have my black side of family, and who I just love so much. So I'm curious. So let's talk about Grandma and Grandpa Hildebrandt, your parents. Once you two realized that you were an item, and that you two really, really liked each other, first of all, did you call Grandma and Grandpa on the phone? I mean, how did you tell the family about this?
Well, when your daddy and I made the decision that we were going to get married.
Wow. So how long did you know Dad before you decided you were going to get married?
My first date with your dad was on the 7th of July.
You remember that?
That was our first date.
Okay.
Because we had been down there for a while.
Right.
But that was our first date.
Right, because you had gotten down there like in April or May, something like that. Okay.
And August 31st, whatever the end of August is, that was the end of our program.
Mm.
And your dad and I made the decision that we were going to get married.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Just like that.
Just like that. Because you were going to be going back to Minnesota.
I was going to go back to school. Yeah.
Wow.
We made the decision we were going to get married.
Okay.
And I went home to tell my parents that I was getting married. My mother cried for a week.
That you were getting married, or you were getting married to a black man?
That I was getting married to a black man.
Really?
And was not finishing school.
Oh, that's right. You both did not finish school.
At that time, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My mother she just cried. Every time I see her, she cried. It was not a happy time.
Right.
My dad said nothing.
Yeah, that's Grandpa.
He
just kind of ruminates on things.
Yes. He didn't say anything. He left it. I'm sure he left it to my mother.
So when you were in Alabama, before you went to Minnesota, did you meet Grandma?
I met, yes, your dad's mom and his stepdad.
Right. Grandpa Walton.
Yep. We went over there. Actually, a group of us went over there one time to Montgomery. Got all climbed in a car.
Were you the only white person in the car? Okay.
There are a couple of us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was car loaded.
Oh, jeez.
There were probably 6 people in the back seat.
Right.
Because we were going to Paul's mother's home.
Yeah.
And she was notoriously good cook.
Yes, Grandma Jean was. Yes, she was.
We were going to get a meal.
Yep. None
of the sandwich stuff. We were getting a meal.
Yeah. And did she know you guys were coming?
No.
Okay.
We were actually going, I think we were going to a club, but we decided to stop there first.
Okay.
And your stepfather, Grandpa Bird, told your dad, called your dad in the other room and he told him he was leaving, that he wouldn't be back until the bomb went off.
I remember hearing this story. Yes.
Because he knew that they were going to be bombed because there were these white folks in his house. Yeah.
What did Grandma Jean say?
Nothing. She just accepted it.
Yeah.
To her, it was just her son bringing his friends over to eat and have.
So she didn't know you guys were dating? Oh.
She didn't know we were dating.
Okay.
It was just a group of us going over there on eating good food.
Right.
I even remember what she made.
You do?
I do.
What did Grandma make?
She made meatballs, and we had mashed potatoes.
Really? And Grandma Jean, she cooked everything homemade.
Everything was homemade.
Yes.
Had no idea where we're coming, how she
Put it all together.
put it all together to feed. I mean, because we were ravenous. There were
Right.
a lot of us.
A lot of you all. So when you all knew you were going to get married, were you aware of the laws restricting interracial marriage?
I knew that we knew we couldn't get married in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew we couldn't get married in Minnesota. Minnesota also had a miscegenation law because of the Native Americans.
Really?
We have a large Native American population.
So it was because of them
That so miscegenation was miscegenation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the only place we knew of that we could get married was Washington, D.C.
Were you aware of the Loving versus Virginia case?
No.
You had no idea?
Had no idea. No.
Really?
You have to remember, we're still students living in a bubble.
Right.
You're in a bubble.
Okay.
We weren't paying attention to what was happening nationally.
Right, nationally, right? So you went to D.C.
Yep, we did.
And you got married in D.C.
We had nothing. Nothing. We
Right.
came to Washington, and between the two of us, we had less than $2,000.
Wow.
That's all we had.
Wow.
We had nothing.
Nothing.
No, there had been no weddings, so there had been
Right.
no gifts,
Right.
no pots, no pans.
Right. Nothing. And the parents didn't help you all out initially. Were the parents upset with you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Before we got married, we knew two people from St. Olaf who had gone to Washington. They had jobs there. So we actually stayed with them for about 3 or 4 days
Mm-hmm.
until we could get into our own place, find a place that we could afford. And before we got married, and my parents flew out.
Okay.
And that's when they met your dad for the first time
Mm-hmm.
in a hotel room.
In a hotel room.
Yeah.
And
Tried to talk us out of getting married again.
did they? Wow. So you hadn't gotten married yet.
We hadn't been married yet.
Okay. And wanted to talk because it was an interracial marriage.
Because it was an interracial marriage. That is
Okay.
correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So before we move forward, Mom, I do want to shift to something close to the heart of Common Health, this podcast, and that's healthcare.
Okay.
The world you grew up in and the world you encountered in Alabama had very different healthcare realities. Okay. So growing up in Minnesota, what was healthcare like when you were growing up there? Was going to the doctor routine or occasional? And then how did people learn about health?
Health was, you got sick, you called the doctor, he came to your house.
You came to your house. Yeah.
I remember having measles, and the doctor coming to the house.
And then how did they get paid? Grandma and Grandpa just paid them?
They sent a bill.
They sent a bill.
Was
Was there health insurance?
No.
No health insurance.
I do not remember there being health insurance. Yep.
Do you know how it was in Alabama?
I do know that your dad had probably better health care
Mm-hmm.
because his mom was tied to one of the educational institutions, was a black college in Montgomery,
Okay.
and she taught at their school.
Ah.
So your dad had different health care than probably the people we saw in rural Alabama.
And the rural part. Okay. So was healthy eating something people talked about?
No, you didn't talk about healthy eating. You didn't think about it. Nobody knew about it because everybody had a garden.
Really?
Everybody
had a garden.
And big gardens. There's none of this little stuff.
Right.
It was big gardens. There were
Mhm.
potatoes and cabbages and
Mm-hmm.
name something.
Right.
And that's what you ate from.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my aunt and my mom getting together and canning.
Yes, I can remember all the canning.
Yep.
On both sides of
On-
the family.
Yes. Everything. Yeah.
Right.
Everything was canned. And then it was frozen. And your meat you got from the local farmer. when they
Really?
butchered. They, yeah, they delivered it to you. My dad would sometimes get paid in chickens.
And chickens.
Yeah. Or eggs, or if he worked at the creamery, he'd come home and he'd have butter.
Okay.
That's kind of how it was. Part of it was like the barter system.
Right, the barter system. Yeah,
I think we ate better because everybody had gardens. It was
Right.
just expected
right.
that you had a garden. Everybody worked in a garden.
And you mentioned that you had measles.
Yes.
Did they have vaccinations?
Yes, they did.
So how come, did they have a measles vaccination? Okay.
We didn't have a measles vaccine at the time. Our vaccinations were given in the schools.
Okay.
They were kept track of by the school.
Mm-hmm.
So every year in the fall, you would get a paper saying that you had to take home and have your parents sign
Right.
that you were due for these vaccinations.
Uh-huh.
Whether it was, I know we had smallpox
Yep.
vaccinations.
Right.
Or whatever else they had at the time. And your parents would sign that you had approval to get that. You'd line up by class outside the nurse's office because every school had a nurse.
Okay.
And you'd get your vaccination.
Were people against vaccination?
No. I remember when the first polio vaccine came out. That was the Salk polio vaccine.
Yes.
And it was an oral vaccine.
It was an oral vaccine. I can remember taking that.
And when it first came out, every student in the school took that vaccine.
Really?
Yes.
Because
all our parents remembered the stories of someone being in an iron lung
being in an iron lung.
or
Okay.
so and so limps because he had polio.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
So they all remembered that, and there wasn't a parent that was going to allow their child to go through that.
Really?
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day, how fascinating it was because now we have this anti-vax
Right.
thing going on. And it was just never considered not to get your child vaccinated.
Really?
Because it was important. Parents at that time felt it was more important to protect their children.
So, what about mental health? Was that ever talked
mental
about?
health was never talked about.
Was it a thing to, like if there was somebody who was born with intellectual disabilities or whatever, was that something that folks were ashamed of and kept separate from people? I mean,
I think we had a student in my class in elementary and high school who was mentally disabled, challenged, who was challenged.
yeah,
But he went to class with us. He was
yeah.
in normal school.
That's what we had, yes.
There wasn't anything, and he learned and was expected to learn, even though he was a slower learner.
Right.
But he took the same lessons we did, had the same homework we did,
Mm-hmm.
was asked by the teacher the same questions we were.
Right.
You had to stand up and give an answer.
Right. Right.
So that was something that we didn't see as much of. Who were depressed. We had it, my dad's family, a couple of his sisters were very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just depressed. You didn't get treated for it.
You didn't get treated
No.
for it.
You might have taken some over the counter. I think there was the Lydia Pinkham's tonic. That was some kind of over the counter thing.
Right.
Probably
right.
had alcohol in it.
Yes. Knock them out.
Yeah,
Right.
That you would take, or they'd give you something like that. But there weren't any of the drugs that we have now. I don't
Today.
remember that.
Really.
Mental health, severe disturbances, like some of the things you see now, it was not discussed.
It was not discussed.
No, it was not. You didn't talk about it. It was kind of a shameful
Right.
thing.
Right. And then what about maternal health? Women's health?
You went to the doctor and had a baby.
You went to the doctor and had a baby.
Yep. You saw whatever doctor, like in Glencoe, we had 2 doctors. Well, you had to go see one of them. So,
Yes.
And maternal health, you went to see whatever doctor was available. In Alabama, I remember hearing the girls talk about in the dormitory, because we were talking one night about somebody had seen a family that had a lot of children.
Mm-hmm.
And well, how did they get all these kids? Didn't they know about birth control and all that?
Right.
They use condoms, stuff like that. And they said that in Alabama at that time, most babies were delivered by someone in the community.
In the community,
There
yes.
was no doctor. You didn't go to the doctor, no nurses, no maternal health.
Mm-hmm.
It was just wherever you are.
Right.
There was a woman probably that did like a
doula.
Like a
we
doula.
call them doula today.
Like a doula.
Right. So then, in some respects, you actually observed health disparities, but didn't realize it was called health disparity.
Correct.
We've named it today as health
Right.
disparities.
Right.
Right. But back then it was just in Alabama and how
How they were now, how they lived.
and that they didn't
Yeah.
look at it as a disparity.
Correct. Yeah.
Because that's how they got their health care.
Mhm.
Right. So after everything you experienced in Alabama, you and Dad made the choice about where to build your life together, and you talked about going to DC because that's where you knew you could only get married in DC at the time. And so now you're building this life together, right? So what were those early years like in DC? So I know I was born in DC.
Correct.
Okay. So talking about healthcare, how did you have a doctor? Like today, women go through prenatal. Okay, did you all have that?
No.
You didn't.
Mm-mm. And not with you. The difference between when I had you in the mid-60s
Right.
and when I had your brother
In the 70s.
in the 70s, there was a huge difference.
Was there.
A huge difference.
And healthcare had evolved.
Particularly maternal health care in the city.
In the
Because we
city.
were in the city.
That's
We were
right.
in Washington.
Yep.
So it really evolved. I mean, by the time your brother came along, there were Lamaze classes. When I had you, we went into the hospital.
Uh-huh.
Your dad was in the waiting room. They gave me something to put me under.
So
And
you were asleep
I was asleep for you.
and you had me naturally. You
Yeah.
didn't have a cesarean.
No, had you naturally.
Really? And then you woke up and you have this baby.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I knew.
So there were no prenatal visits.
I did have prenatal visits.
Okay.
I did. In fact, it was interesting. I came back from my first prenatal visit, my first doctor's visit in Washington, D.C., opened the mailbox. We were living in the one-room apartment. And there was the thing from the government for your dad that he had to report to the Selective Service because that was the Vietnam War.
Wow.
And so that he had ordered a report in so many days.
Uh-huh.
But it was early on
Mhm.
in the war. So he was able to get a deferment because I was pregnant.
Because you were pregnant.
Then he
Oh.
was never called again after.
And he was never called again.
That was after that was
Because then
his
selective
job.
service went away, right? There wasn't really selective service.
Not
It
after a
was
while.
After, right. Okay.
So yeah.
So then you took me, I remember going to see Dr. Michael, my pediatrician.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Did have a pediatrician.
At that time, were you and Dad in support of making sure I was vaccinated, whatever?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You
Okay.
had all your vaccinations, whatever Dr. Michael told us he felt was necessary. That's what we did.
So then, in those early days, how did those experiences shape you and Dad as a couple?
I think part of it is that we were married for 57 years.
Yeah, you were.
And I believe part of that was due to the fact that, I know it was, that we had interracial children. That it was very important to me that we have a family life, because there were things I couldn't teach you and your brother, because I was not from that community.
Right.
It was a very different community for your dad growing up than it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, and some of it's the little things. He grew up in Alabama where his vegetables were cooked to death. I grew up in Minnesota where you eat your vegetables practically raw.
And I like them both. I love them both that way.
So there are, that's just an example. That's
Right.
kind of a silly little example.
Yes.
But there are cultural things that I could teach you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if your dad was not in your life, then you probably weren't going to get it from your Black grandparents either.
Right.
Because you wouldn't see them as
I wouldn't
often.
see them as often.
That's
right.
Yeah.
And again, when we started the show here, Mom, with you, I told you I remember going to both Alabama as well as Minnesota. And why did you choose? And it would be without you and Dad. Mm-hmm. You would send us there. Yep. And a lot of times I knew you all worked and all that. But why did you all do that? Why send us without you all?
Because it was important that you knew your grandparents and kind of live the life that we did. So you can't really, we can tell you about things, but until you actually live it, see it, do it, sometimes it doesn't just impinge on your consciousness.
Right. And I can remember both you and Dad never said anything negative about the other grandparents or the culture or that life. It was you had Chris and I experience it.
Yes.
Which was interesting. Okay, so as we wrap up, I want to give you a moment, Mom, to just reflect on the journey as a whole, from Minnesota to Alabama to DC and to where we are today. So when you do look back, what stands out for you the most?
How much I have learned.
How much you've learned.
How much the different experiences that I had. I wouldn't have had that if I had stayed married in Minnesota and married my lawyer or doctor like I was supposed to.
Right.
Just the experiences I had, the people that I got to meet. I look at it and think, I am so fortunate. Yeah, we had hardships and hard times and things like that, but
yeah,
I'm really fortunate. It's the growth that I was able to experience from everything on my journey or on our journey.
And then what do you hope this younger generation, Mom, takes from your story?
Just don't turn down any opportunity. Don't explore. Look at the differences. There are so many opportunities. There are so many opportunities to learn new stuff. You have to learn new stuff all the time.
And what about meeting people different from you?
I think that's always an important thing to do, is because that's what you learn. That's how you learn, is you meet different people, you talk about their experiences, they get to know you. And the more they know you, the easier it is for them to open up about the kind of life that they have led, or if they need help in some way. You have to talk to people. Even though your dad was better at that than I was.
Yes, Dad was definitely a salesman.
He had never met a person he didn't.
He would talk to a stranger. He did not care.
Nope, made him no difference.
For community health centers and the work and the mission, because you go to a community health center.
I do.
That mission, these experiences that you lived, are you glad that this mission is out here? I guess that's the question of the day, is those experiences, are you glad to see a mission like the community health centers out here today? Because you didn't have community health centers. You had clinics.
We had clinics, right?
But you didn't have community health centers in this mission. What would you say about that?
I would think right now that it's a very important part of healthcare in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at what I saw back, like in Montgomery,
Mm-hmm.
in the rural areas where there were no doctors.
Right.
You had your local, maybe a healer, someone who
Right.
herbs or
Yep.
maybe had worked in a clinic at some time,
Yep.
or doula,
Mm-hmm.
someone like that. But and even in Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
in our rural areas, I mean, because we live 60 miles, Glencoe's 60 miles from the closest
City
trauma center,
trauma center. Mm-hmm.
big trauma center.
Right.
Although it has a small hospital, it's a
Mhm.
regional health center. But there are areas where there is no clinic.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it
There is
interesting
no doctor.
how that was then and that is still
Still
now?
today, yes.
Right?
Still now. hmm
Wow. All right.
So I will say I love my
Your health center.
health center.
Okay. Daily Planet. We'll have to put that out there. Promote Daily Planet. They have
Yes.
taken care of
Take
you.
very good care of me, yes.
Would
Excellent.
you have gone to a community health center if it existed back then?
Sure,
Mhm.
sure. Because there were times we didn't have insurance
Right.
when, yes, that would have been our health care.
Right.
We wouldn't have had to pay for it out of pocket.
Right. And you see a doctor. You see a medical doctor.
I see a medical doctor.
And there's they employ them. It's not a free clinic. It's an actual health system.
Yes. Yep. I get tests just like everybody else does. When
Right.
I go to a
Right.
private physician,
Right.
private pay physician.
Hmm.
I get great care.
Well, thank you, Mom. And listeners, as we close today's conversation, I'm struck by how much my mother's story mirrors the values that really do guide Virginia Community Health Centers. And the courage that my mom has showed stepping up into unfamiliar communities. Oh my gosh. The compassion that she carried into places where my mom was a stranger, and the deep belief that every person deserves dignity. Those values really are the heartbeat of community health. Our health centers here in Virginia and around this country serve people who, like those my mother met in Alabama and her family, my family in Minnesota, have faced barriers for far too long. And they do it. Community health centers do their work, right? With humility, cultural understanding, and a commitment to meeting people where they are. So listeners, and for those of you who go to community health centers, I wanted to share this story. We are filming and doing this show right now during February, which is considered Black History Month. And I really felt it was important that we brought this story because this story comes from an individual, my mother, who actually goes to a community health center and would have gone to a health center back then. So patients and staff and communities across the Commonwealth and in other countries or this country that's hearing this podcast, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for supporting community health centers. Thank you for the work that you're doing in community health centers and for building trust and expanding access in these communities that struggle. And thanks, Mom.
Thank you, baby.
For showing me through your own life and our listeners and what it means to serve with courage and heart. I carry that with me every day. And until next time, listeners, this is Common Health. Stay well, stay connected, and keep choosing courage.